1 Samuel chapter 8. And we're going to talk about 1 Samuel tonight. And 1 Samuel is a very interesting and entertaining book. I would say it's one of the easier books in the Bible to read. There's a lot of action, a lot of things that happen, some famous stories that you definitely know. But what it is, after you go Joshua, Judges, Ruth. Ruth is actually in Judges, and then 1 Samuel. And we talked about Judges before. Judges is just a lot of craziness. The Bible says that people were doing whatever was right in their own eyes. They didn't really follow the Lord. They just did their own thing. And when you get to 1 Samuel, you could say the craziness continues. Okay? That would be a good way to title the book. The people still continue to act pretty crazy. And I'll just walk through the book real quick, and then we'll talk about some key lessons we can learn from it. The first thing in chapter 1, Samuel is born. Okay? A baby boy named Samuel is born to a woman named Hannah. Eli is the priest at that time. Y'all probably have heard that story before. Hannah couldn't have any children. She told the Lord, if you'll give me a child, I'll give it back to you, and he'll be yours for the rest of his life. And that happened, and Samuel was that child. And she takes Samuel and dedicates him to the Lord, and he goes and lives in Shiloh, at where the worship center was, the meeting place for the Israelites. And Samuel stays there with Eli the priest. Then in chapter 2, you learn that Eli, his sons are also the priests, but they are very wicked. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. They were just wicked. They were eating the sacrifices the people were bringing in. They were eating parts of the sacrifices they weren't supposed to eat. And they were sleeping with women at the tabernacle where they met. They were actually sleeping with the women there. So they were very wicked. And then the story goes on, basically. There's a lot, I'm just skipping through here. Chapter 4, the Israelites go out to battle against the Philistines. Okay, they go to war against the Philistines. They're afraid they're going to lose the battle. So what they do in chapter 4 is they come up with this idea. Let's take the Ark of the Covenant out there to battle with us. If we take the Ark to battle, surely we'll win. Well, they don't win that battle. And instead what happens, Eli's two sons, who were the wicked priests, Hophni and Phinehas, they're both killed in battle. The Ark is captured. Okay, the Philistines take the Ark, which, if you remember back when we started the first 5 books of the Bible, the Ark was supposed to be in the tabernacle. It was a place where God dwelled, in the holiest place. It ended up in the Philistine camp, and Eli died when he heard the bad news. And they basically said, this is a kind of a word that you might hear in the Bible sometimes, Ichabod. That's what they said, Ichabod. The glory of God has departed from Israel. In other words, we're in bad shape here. The Lord is not with us anymore. The Ark is gone. The priests are dying. Everybody's living a wicked life, so to speak. And so that's what happens. The Ark goes to the Philistines. The Philistines, they start dying because the Lord is in their camp and they're not holy people. So they send the Ark back. So the Israelites get the Ark back. And then chapter 8. This is probably a major turning point for the nation of Israel. Okay? Chapter 8. We'll start reading in verse number 3. We'll start in verse number 1. It says, Now it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. So Samuel said, my sons are going to be the next judges. But listen to verse 3. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain, took bribes, and perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah and said to him, Look, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. This is what they said. We don't want this. We don't like our system anymore. We don't want any more judges. We want a king. And the Lord tells them, no, you don't want a king. You need me to be your king. Samuel gets mad, but the Lord says, this is in chapter 8, Samuel, they have not rejected you. They have rejected me from being their king. And Samuel tries to warn them, if you get a king, he's going to tax you. He's going to take your daughters and your sons. He's going to take your land. He's going to abuse you. And to a certain extent, it's not going to be good. And they say, no, we want a king. And so right here, the thing, it's a big change in Israel. Previously, the Lord was supposed to be their king. Now they want a king to rule over them. And so in chapter 9, the first king of Israel is selected. His name is Saul. Chapters 9 and 10, he becomes the king. Then he does pretty good for a little while, but just to make the long story short here, Saul does not faithfully obey the Lord. He does not do everything the Lord asked him to do. So the Lord says, I have rejected you from being king. I'm going to find a king who is going to be a king after my own heart. Okay? You disobeyed me. You've rejected me. I reject you. Your time of being king is going to come to an end real quick. And 16, Samuel goes to find the next king. The second king that's going to be the king of Israel is David. And God tells Samuel that I don't look at the outside of a man, I look at the inside of a man. That's how we're going to pick this king. We're going to look at his heart. We're going to go by his heart, see what's in his heart. And so God selects David to be the next king. He did not look like a good candidate to be the king. He was a shepherd boy out in the field. But God said he's going to be the next king. Chapter 17, David kills Goliath. Okay? Major victory right there for the Israelites. David is not really the king yet. Saul's still the king, but David kills Goliath. But what happens, this is what the rest of the story is about. After David kills Goliath, that's a great thing. But in chapter 18, we'll read a few verses right here. Chapter 18, verse number 7. All right. This is where things really go downhill here for Saul and for David. Things change. Chapter 18, verse 7. Listen what this says. So the women sang as they danced and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. Then Saul was very angry, and the saying displeased him. And he said, they have ascribed to David 10,000s. And to me they have ascribed only thousands. Now what more can he have but the kingdom? So Saul eyed David from that day forward. They started singing this song. Saul has killed 1,000, but David has killed 10,000. And David was a great military leader. He went out, he led the army, they had lots of victories, he was highly successful. Everybody loved David. And Saul was what? Jealous. He began to eye David. He thought, this guy is going to take away my kingdom. Everybody's going to follow him. And the rest of this book, from chapter 18 through chapter 30, basically, is the story of how Saul hunted David and tries to kill him. Okay? He goes after him. FBI, most wanted, puts a bounty on his head and says, look, we are going to kill him. Jonathan, who is Saul's son, tries to talk him out of it. He says, Daddy, why would you try to kill him? He said nothing but good. What are you thinking? David tries to talk him out of it a couple of times. But Saul insists that David needs to die. And it's just it's a big mess, to put it mildly, where Saul just goes after him over and over and over. And David has to go live in caves. He lives in the woods. He lives in mountains. He hides wherever he can. He has to go to 2 different countries trying to stay away from Saul. Saul is after him. David has to run. David has to leave his wife. He leaves his country. It is a total disaster. And at the very end of the book, in chapter 31, Saul goes to battle, and Saul and his sons are killed by the Philistines. Last chapter of 1 Samuel. So that's the story of 1 Samuel. Very interesting to read, okay? Not really a complicated book. But I want to take a few minutes here and pull out some lessons from 1 Samuel. Some lessons that we can learn. The first one is this. The best solution, and really the only solution for us, is to always obey the Lord, to follow the Lord. See, what happens in Samuel, the priests are very wicked, okay? The priests who work at the tabernacle, the temple, they're extremely wicked. Okay? Not only that, the judges are going to be wicked because Samuel's about to die and his boys are about to be the judges, and they are wicked. The ark has been captured by the Philistines. Now here's the question. What is the solution for all those problems? The nation is ungodly. People are in trouble. People have been killed. What is the solution? What do they think the solution is? We need a king. Okay? We're going to get us a king, and that's going to straighten us out. Well, the problem is they weren't supposed to have a king. You know what the real solution is? This is a great little verse. 1 Samuel 7. You can turn back there if you want to. This is a great little thing that Samuel told them. And this is great advice for everybody to realize this. And when things were going south and things were not going their way, they really did not know how to respond. That's why they thought they were going to lose a war. So they came up with this idea, let's take the ark out there. If we take the ark with us, surely we'll win. That was a terrible idea, but they're trying to figure out what the solution is because they're not doing good. Well, chapter 7, verse 3. It says, Then Samuel spoke spoke to all the house of Israel, saying, if you return to the Lord with all your hearts, then put away the foreign gods and the Ashtoreths from among you, and prepare your hearts for the Lord, and serve Him only. He will deliver you from the hand of the Philistines. What does Samuel tell them you need to do? You need to repent and return to the Lord. That's the solution. You don't need a king. You don't need to take the ark out there with you to battle. What you need to do is turn back to the Lord with your whole heart and serve Him. Okay? We don't need unbiblical solutions. Okay? And you think, what are you talking about? What would that be today? I thought of two easy examples. Okay? Two things that I guarantee you people have come up with as solutions. Okay? Churches. If a church is not doing good, you know what the church will say sometimes? At least few people in the church will say? I think we need a new pastor. Well, that could be the case if the pastor's not living for the Lord and doing the things that he's supposed to be doing. But you know what more likely is the case? Everybody in the church needs to turn back to the Lord, and everybody in the church needs to begin to obey the Lord. Right? You don't come up with an unbiblical solution of... So another example, I'll tell you, people have thought this before. It's crossed somebody's mind before. I think I need a new spouse. I need a new husband. I need a new wife. That's what I need. Is that the solution? Is that what you should try to do? I'll be a lot happier if I get a new spouse. No, that's not the solution. What's the solution? You need to turn back to the Lord and get your heart right with the Lord, and you need to live for the Lord. You do what the book says do. That's always the solution. You always go back and say, well, how does the Bible tell me I need to live? What does the Bible tell me about this? And people always get off track when they come up with another idea. This goes back to in Judges. Gideon won a great battle for the people. They won a great battle with Gideon. You know what they said? You be our ruler. You rule over us. You know what Gideon told them? You don't need me or anybody else to rule over you. You need the Lord to rule over you. You need the Lord to be your king. And, you know, I think about that and I think, you know, it's just, it applies today. Politics are fine. It's fine to be involved in politics. But the only thing that's going to save America is not a politician. Right? I mean, surely we have figured that out. A politician, what's the only thing that's going to really change the course of the country? When people do what? Turn to the Lord, right? Turn to the Lord. That's the only thing you can do. We're not going to appoint a king. We're not going to have somebody come in here and save the day. Samuel said, if you'll turn to the Lord and you'll serve the Lord, He'll bless you. Things will work out if you'll do that. I said, no, we want a king. It's the wrong solution. And so what we all need to always do is look at our own life and say, am I following the Lord faithfully? Am I walking with the Lord every day? That's the solution. So the first point, you learn this, I mean, they went way wrong right here, getting a king. But they thought that was going to help them. They thought that way. They were wrong. Second thing is this. You learn this from Samuel, from 1 Samuel. A Christian can act crazy. A Christian can act crazy. Saul is probably the main character in this book. You meet him in chapter 9. He dies in chapter 31. Chapters 9 through 31 are pretty much about King Saul. Very interesting. Chapter 10, y'all can turn there and look at this if you want to. When Saul became the king, the Lord did a work in Saul's heart. Okay? God did something for Saul that was going to help him be a godly king. Chapter 10, verse 6. It says, then the Spirit of the Lord will come upon you, and you will prophesy with him, and you will be turned into another man. Samuel, the Lord spoke to Samuel and said, Saul, I'm going to make you into another man. The Spirit of God will make you another man. In verse 9, listen to what it says. So it was, when Saul had turned his back to go from Samuel, that God gave him another heart, and all these signs came to pass that day. Saul's an interesting character because of the way things start off with. God turns him into another man. He gives him a new heart. That's what we would call being converted, being changed. Being born again is very similar to that. So I believe sincerely that Saul was a legitimate, what we would call a Christian. He's made another man. He had a new heart inside of him. But this is the thing about Saul. In this book, if you read Saul's story, that man went crazy. He does some crazy stuff, okay? You would look at him and you would never believe that he had ever really known the Lord. And so it happens, at first Saul does some small things wrong. He offers a sacrifice he's not supposed to offer. He builds a monument to himself. You kind of think, about me putting a statue of myself out there. That would be ridiculous, right? He put a statue to himself up. He didn't kill all the Amalekites when he was supposed to. And the Lord said, you're not going to be king anymore. You're not doing what I told you to do. Well, then it only gets worse. Once David comes in the picture, Saul gets very jealous of David. He envies him. He's full of pride. He doesn't like them saying, hey, you killed 1,000, he killed 10,000, right? You scored 5 points, you did good, but this guy scored 30 points. He's the best player. And Saul's sitting there, it's burning him up on the inside. So he tries to kill David. And y'all know these stories. He tries to kill him twice with a spear while he's playing the harp. He tries to throw a spear and kill him. He goes out and pursues him. And he gets mad at his own son. He gets mad at his own daughter because they didn't turn David over to him. The worst story, and this is in chapter 22, I'm not going to turn there. Saul gets mad at this priest who helped David. The priest didn't even know David was on the run, but David kind of fibbed to him. David told him he was on the king's business, and he needed some food, and he needed some provisions for his men. David was really running, he needed a sword. And Saul goes and he kills 85 priests, kills the women, the children, the infants in that town. It's a massacre because he thinks they helped David. It's crazy what he does. He goes out and pursues David. David catches Saul in a situation where David could have killed him. Y'all know the story in the cave. David and David's men say, kill him right now. Let's kill him. He goes in there to use the bathroom. David and his men are hiding in the cave. And David doesn't kill him. And David says, look, I cut the corner of your robe off. I could have killed you. And Saul says, oh, I'm sorry. I never should have done that. I can tell you're really a godly man. Forgive me. He goes back home. Guess what he does? He goes right back out there and tries to kill him some more. Continues to chase him. It's really crazy. And it's just hard to believe that he was what we would call a Christian. But it's a warning to all of us. And I think it's a serious warning. A Christian can get way off track. Saul did it. Next one does it is who? David, he gets way off track. Talk about that Sunday morning. Peter cursed 3 times, said, I don't know the Lord. Aaron, who was Moses' brother, who had done great things, builds a golden calf. Less people who are actually believers can get off track. And the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 10, if anyone thinks he stands, beware lest he fall. See, if we get away from the Lord, and what really happened to Saul, if you're not really careful and you don't guard your heart, you let little things snowball. See, Saul was disobedient. He got worse. He got worse. His heart was full of jealousy, pride, greed, selfishness. He didn't address that. This is reality, and I'll move on, but we can do, say, and think things that we would never think that we could do, say, or think. You think, I would never do that, or say that, or think that. And you know what you end up doing? Doing or saying or thinking what you thought you would never do, say, or think. Why? Because you can get away from the Lord. Anybody can. Saul had a new heart. He was a new man. But because he did not faithfully walk with the Lord, and this is interesting, in 2 Samuel, when Saul died, David basically preached his funeral. And I'll turn here and read it. I read it this afternoon, and I thought it was kind of interesting to think about this. This is what David said about it. Saul and Jonathan were beloved and pleasant in their lives. You know what that tells me? Saul wasn't altogether wicked, right? See, David said, oh man, these were 2 good people. You say, how could it? It was just Saul got off track. He wasn't always terrible. I mean, he wasn't just unbelievably wicked all the time. But he had this thing that became an obsession to him, and he became consumed by it, and it led him down the wrong path. And so you learn from 1 Samuel, a Christian can get way off track. Potentially any of us can fall into real sins. I just wrote down things that you think that you wouldn't do is get a divorce, lie, steal, have an affair. You think I wouldn't do those type of things. You let yourself get in the wrong situation and you're not careful, you can do anything. So it's a warning for sure. Next thing is this. A Christian can have a difficult life. David, this is interesting. I was thinking about this. I thought this is a really interesting thing about this. In 1 Samuel 16, Samuel goes to David and he says, the Lord has chosen you to be the king in Israel. If you were David, what would you think that meant? Well, I'm going to sit on the throne. I'm going to wear a crown. I'm going to have some of those women with those fans sit there and fan me all day. I'm going to have a purple robe. I'm going to eat whatever I want to. I'm going to drink out of gold cups. This is really neat. I'm going to be the king in Israel. I don't know what he thought it was going to be like. Well, what was it like? It was a very, very bumpy road, right? To put it mildly, it was very bumpy. Saul tries to kill him. He has to leave his wife, okay? David says in chapter 20, it's an equal verse, in chapter 20, verse 3, David tells Jonathan, brother, there's a step between me and death. I'm about to be killed here, okay? Any moment I could be executed because Saul was always hunting him. He had to go flee to a foreign country where he lived. While he was in that country, you know what he had to do to survive? He had to act like he was insane. This is a pretty cool story. David is pretty clever. He goes there, they're like, hey, this is David that used to kill all the soldiers, and we better put him to death. And David drools all over himself and stands out there and claws the post, and they say, this guy's out of his head. We don't need to mess with him. He tricks them to think he's crazy. He's having to resort to those type of tactics. He lives in a cave. And the Bible says people who were distressed and in debt and poor came out there and joined him in that cave. And he had 400 men with him. He was the leader basically of a militia, but they lived in caves. He lived in the strongholds, in the wilderness, in the woods, in the mountains. Literally, I'm talking about nobody here has ever gone through any type of situation where you've been on the run. This is really ironic. David had to go live in the land of the Philistines. He went and joined the Philistines. He had killed Goliath, but he said, no, the only place I can go where Saul's not going to chase me, I'm going to join the Philistines. I'm going to fight in their army. And you know, he's probably thinking, hey, I thought I was supposed to be the king in Israel. What happened to that? This is a little bit different than I thought it was going to be. This has been a nightmare. It's been a nightmare. Then at the end of the story, who was David's best friend? Jonathan. Jonathan's killed in battle. David is grieved deeply. And so I'm just saying this. A Christian can have a very difficult life. And I'm talking about this. Why is all this information? It's a great story to read about David. This is great reading material, okay? Why is all this in there about him? It's 14 chapters basically of David's problems. We say that sometimes. He had more problems in the math book. His life was chaos. It was one problem after another. Why is all that in the Bible? Well, what else is David famous for? One thing David did is he wrote a lot of Psalms. The Psalms were written by David. And you know what David talks about in Psalms? Well, at times he's very joyful. But you know what else at times he is? He's very disappointed. He talks about the problems he has. He talks about all the disappointment he's had in his life. You know what these stories do? They help us realize, hey, you're going to go through some hard times. Bottom line, you're going to go through some hard times. There's going to be some difficult, dark days. There's going to be some nights where you worry, where you're full of anxiety, where you feel like the Lord has left you. David faced all that, and he wrote about it, and so it helps us. And I wrote this down, that life on planet, our life, I tell people this sometimes in the hospital, and this is the easy thing to testify in the hospital, this is not heaven, right? That's obvious. Sometimes we feel like, man, this life is so good. Well, it might be today. That's good if your life is really good today. You feel like, man, this is awesome. But you know what? Your life is not going to be perfect. You're going to have problems. You're going to have disappointment. You're going to have difficulty. This is not heaven. There is a place called heaven. There is a place that Jesus called paradise, but this is not it. This story shows us, hey, you can be on the right side of the Lord. You can be God's chosen one. You can obey the Lord, and you can have a multitude of problems. David had just a terrible, terrible difficulty. And in 2 Samuel, he gets into a mess, and this is 2 Samuel 19:7. They tell him, look, if you don't do the right thing now, you're going to have more problems than you've had your whole life. They said, your days have been evil since your youth. See, David had problems. He faced difficulties. But here's the, and let me just say this. This is so obvious the more you read the Bible. We should not have unrealistic expectations. You know what that means? That if you're a Christian, you will have cash and Cadillacs. David did not have any cash and he had no Cadillacs. He was full of difficulties, right? And you think, well, I'm going to be healthy and wealthy if I'm walking with the Lord. I don't doubt that David thought it was going to be easier than it was. I don't think he foresaw, you know what, I think this guy's going to try to kill me for years on end. I'm going to have to go live in the woods. No, he didn't see that, but it happened, and that's just the fact. Christians face difficulty. Last point, this is related. A believer can survive difficult times. We can survive the trials, the tribulations, and difficulties. Look, this is awesome. Two verses I'll show you right here. 1 Samuel 23:16. 1 Samuel 23:16. David was in a mess. Okay? It's one of the times he's in a big mess. And this is an awesome little story that we can all learn from right here. We'll actually start in verse 14, 23:14. Listen to this. Three or 4 minutes will be done here. 23:14. And David stayed in strongholds in the wilderness and remained in the mountains in the wilderness of Ziph. Saul sought him every day, but God did not deliver him into his hand. So right there, Saul's after him every day. He's in the mountains, he's in the wilderness. Look at verse 16. Then Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David in the woods and strengthened his hand in God. Jonathan went out there to him and found him. And he strengthened David's hand in the Lord. What does that mean? Well, we don't know exactly, but it means that Jonathan's a brother in Christ. He knows his brother's going through a difficult time. He goes out there, he finds him, he visits him. No doubt he talks with him. He prays with him. He talks about the good things the Lord has done. They had scripture that could have talked about the Bible, talked about how God had been faithful before. Anyway, this is the bottom line. Jonathan goes out there and strengthens David, right? He helps him. He encourages him. And because of that, David was strengthened. He regained, his faith was built up. He had hope. He had peace. But it was because Jonathan went to him. And it probably might have kept him from killing Saul. In chapter 24 and 26, he had a chance to kill Saul, but he didn't do it because he was walking with the Lord right here. But his faith was strong. And Jonathan had helped him to survive. And that's obviously a point we can all take from this. If you know somebody who's going through difficulties, what should you do? You know somebody's having a hard time. You know somebody's lost a loved one. Somebody's in the hospital. What should you do? You should try to strengthen them. You should try to go pray with them, talk to them, encourage them, share a Bible verse with them. Go just sit with them, listen to them, right? They'll feel better after you talk to them, right? That's what we do as believers because the trials and tribulations and difficulties don't have to destroy us. David survived in part because Jonathan encouraged him, went out there and found him when he was by himself. But all of this almost better in chapter 30. Last thing we'll look at, chapter 30, verse number 3. Now this is a wild story. David is living in this city called Ziklag. The Philistines gave it to him for him and his people to live in Ziklag. Well, he goes off and is going to help the Philistines fight a war. They tell him to go back home. He goes back to Ziklag, and everybody in the camp, all the women and children, had been taken captive by a foreign army. Okay? They were all gone. They had disappeared. They had been captured and toted off. Well, listen to verse 3 right here. We'll just read through this. So David and his men came to the city, and there it was, burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, and their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept till they had no more power to weep. This is a bad day right here for David. Their city has been burned down. All the women and children are gone. They weep. They're devastated. Verse 6, listen to this. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. You know what the Bible says? Look, this is a nightmare. This is the worst thing anybody ever experienced. You know what they said? We're going to kill you, buddy. This is your fault. We're following you, and all our sons and daughters have been taken captive by another nation. It was your idea to leave them here. We're going to kill you. They were mad. And you know what? David was greatly distressed. His wives, his kids had gone too. Do you know what the Bible says? David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. You know what that tells me? The trials, tribulations, difficulties do not have to destroy us. David strengthened himself. Now, we'll talk about that in just a second. And this is a fact. Now, you don't have to have somebody else to strengthen you. It's good if somebody comes along to help you. We all help each other, right? But it's pretty neat you can strengthen yourself. How did David strengthen himself? How do you strengthen yourself? What did he do? How do you strengthen yourself in the Lord when you face difficulties? Well, he might have either read or wrote some Psalms, right? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. David wrote that, right? Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Maybe he wrote it then. Maybe he reread it then, right? He found something, some biblical truth. He knew that the Lord was with him. And this wasn't the end of the life. Everything hadn't fallen apart. God was with him. The Lord is our refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble. Right? Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. So David strengthened himself. Maybe he thought about, read the first 5 books of the Bible, the things that Moses had written down, the things that Joshua had said. Be strong and courageous. Don't be dismayed. Don't be discouraged. I will never leave you or forsake you. Right? All these things are things the Lord had already said. Thought about the Red Sea. Thought about the manna that came from heaven, the water that came out of the rock. All the things that the Lord had done. I would definitely say he prayed a little bit. Right? The Bible says, don't be anxious about anything. But everything with prayer and supplication, make your request known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Here's the bottom line. We can make it through difficult times. David did. David faced a mountain of problems. Horrible things happened. Other people helped him, and he helped himself. Right? He kept himself close to the Lord. He turned to the Lord when bad things happened, right? He didn't say, well, we need to find another king. We need to get the ark of God, get out here and go fight with it. No, he said, you know what? I'm going to turn to the Lord right here. I want to find strength in the Lord. He will restore my soul. He will help us get through this. So, it's a great lesson. And I've read 1 Samuel before. I mean, these stories are not new if you've been in church. But those 2 stories right there stood out to me more than anything else in this book this time. Jonathan strengthened David's hand. David strengthened himself. That's what we need to be doing for each other and for ourselves. Because you get discouraged, you can get distressed, you can be fearful, you can be just lack faith, you can be weary. We need to strengthen ourselves, strengthen each other. And you're going to have difficulties in life, but those difficulties do not have to destroy us. So 4 lessons right there. Number 1, we need to always obey the Lord. Number 2, Christians can't go crazy. They can go off the deep end. Saul got a little crazy. You have to be careful that you don't get on the wrong path, even as a believer. And then difficulties are part of the Christian life, but difficulties do not have to destroy us. We can be strong in the Lord and the power of His might. Anybody want to say anything about 1 Samuel? Questions, thoughts about Saul and Jonathan and David and Samuel?